Contrarians, welcome back to the Encrypted Capital Recap for Wednesday, April 20th. First off, we got Bitcoin trading at just around $42,000. I'd like to see it get up above $46,000 and hold to start getting some momentum to the upside. Next up, we got XRP. That is trading at about 76.4 cents right now. I'd like to also see that hold 76 cents. So if we can hold this level and then flip it, turn it into support, and then start making the move to the upside, that would be nice. As well as the total altcoin market cap still holding above $1 trillion, trading at 1.1 trillion. So far, not too much is going on in the market today. Let's see the top gainers real quick just to take a look. We got MTV, Zilliqa, and Aave are all up 6-7%. So let's get into the news now. We got Monero's crypto of choice as ransomware double extortion attacks increase 500%. It says a surge in ransomware in 2021 has also resulted in a surge in Monero usage as the method of payment as more criminal groups want only XMR. I did a video on this back when the Colonial Pipeline got hacked and the hackers were requesting Bitcoin. It made absolutely zero sense to me why you would ask for Bitcoin since it can be tracked and traced on the blockchain. I would be asking for Monero myself if I was a hacker, and I'm not, but if I was a hacker, why would you want to go ahead and take a cryptocurrency that is easily trackable? Why wouldn't you just use a privacy coin like Monero? That's what I would be asking for. And I also thought this was absolutely insane that they're saying that criminal groups want only XMR. I mean, criminal groups use the actual fiat monetary system as it is anyway. They use dollars. So I don't understand why Monero would get so much shade if you can basically do the same thing with fiat. So yeah, in my opinion, it seemed, looking at it from the contrarian mindset, that these Colonial Pipeline attacks that did take place, if they, like I said, I think they're false flags, because if they weren't false flags, why wouldn't you keep doing them? If you got money from one Colonial Pipeline and they paid you out, they paid the ransom in Bitcoin, why wouldn't you keep doing that to other pipelines around the world if it worked? If you just extorted millions of dollars, why wouldn't you just keep doing it? So in my opinion, it kind of sets the stage for cracking down on cryptocurrencies or, segueing into regulation, however they want to clamp down on it, they can, and they can go ahead and use the ransomware attacks as the reasoning for their regulations. So like I said, if you were a hacker, you should have been asking for Monero in the first place. And so the article goes on to say, it says that a new report by blockchain analytics firm CipherTrace highlights the growing role that privacy-focused cryptocurrencies such as Monero are playing in the rising tide of ransomware. It also says that higher prices for Bitcoin are most likely seen by ransomware actors as a premium for dealing with the increased risk in using an easily traceable cryptocurrency like BTC. My point exactly. I've been saying this since that hack happened. It didn't make much sense to me, and I would look for this currency to maybe play a role in a cyber pandemic if we do end up getting one. This really just opens the door for them to crack down and really take away the on and off ramps for these cryptocurrencies on the exchanges. They can essentially limit to you whatever they want to use, and if they go ahead and usher in the central bank digital currencies, the CBDCs, and then they say, oh, you can't use Monero, or we're going to take any exchanges that offer Monero offline, whatever the case might be. They don't really have to limit the cryptocurrency as much as just limiting the on and off ramps for a majority of the public. So keep that in mind. I still like Monero. I think that there should always be a privacy coin available, because if you don't want your transactions broadcasted publicly, what if you're paying for something that's super private? It could be a health or medical condition, or it could be any number of things that you're paying for. They don't necessarily need to mean that you're a terrorist or that you're doing something illegal. It could just mean that you don't want your neighbor knowing what you're buying or what you're paying for. As simple as that. So I think that privacy coins will be here to stay. I think Monero is the best one. You also have Zcash as well, but I would still opt for Monero over Zcash, and you guys can dive into that yourself. Next up, we also got more volatile than Bitcoin. Netflix shares plunge 25%. It says the streaming services stock price took a major hit after releasing disappointing user numbers, making some in the crypto community cry foul at the volatility. We noticed this with AMC and GameStop. they were basically trading like cryptocurrencies when all that hype was going on with Robinhood and Citadel and what's that gentleman's name? Burry, the guy that was in The Big Short. And he was talking about how he wrote a letter to GameStop saying that he thought the company was good and that they can improve if they just change their ways, and et cetera, et cetera. That dude was in on GameStop and was talking about GameStop before these huge pumps. And coincidentally enough, he also called the mortgage-backed security crisis. So do your own research on that. You guys can draw your own conclusions. But I thought it was interesting that this gentleman also just happened to pick out the GameStop stock that went up hundreds of percents, if not thousands. I'd have to look at that and see exactly, but it did trade like some of these cryptocurrencies when they go parabolic. And here we are now seeing it with Netflix. We'll go ahead, we'll take a look at the chart here. It was once trading at about $700. You can now get it on discount for roughly $237. While I'm not buying Netflix, if it did come into this zone right here of roughly, dipping below $300, it might be a buy. That looks like a pretty good level of support. And then the next crucial level of support you have is right around 225. So could be a buy. I don't know. I would stay away from it just because, like I said, I stay in my lane. I know cryptocurrencies way better than I know stocks, but it is interesting to see that we are now starting to see some very similar type gains and retraces that we see in the cryptocurrency space. I also wanted to point out there's this tweet from Jungle Inc. the other day. It says Bob Moneybags feels XRP will settle above $50 after the court case is settled. I'm shooting for a lower number, but still strong gains. What's everyone else thinking? I just wanted to point this out because we've seen a ton of crazy high price predictions for XRP, as well as what's going to be the catalyst. And so we responded back to Jungle. We said that we have a feeling that the settlement will provide the liquidity needed for early adopters to exit. This would mean we rally ahead of settlement if we're correct, just like CNBC provided exit liquidity when they showed everyone how to buy XRP on TV at $3.50. And if you guys don't remember this, on January 6th of 2018, Brian Kelly came on CNBC and showed everybody how to buy XRP. Actually, it was Ripple at the time. Showed everybody how to buy Ripple when it was literally at the very top. I mean, you couldn't time the top any better. And then they came out and showed you how to buy it on Poloniex. So in our opinion, the settlement, I think we're going to rise up before the settlement. We're going to start getting some traction here, start getting some gains. And I think that once the settlement does finally come to fruition, that will provide more than enough exit liquidity to allow the early adopters to exit their positions. Because you have to think, if you have multi-millions of dollars invested in this asset or more, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars invested in this asset, in order to cash out a billion or multi-billion dollar position, you need to entice 400 million people on public news to go ahead and buy what it is you need to sell. Otherwise, who are you going to sell to? You have no liquidity. You have no one buying your massive position. So in our opinion, that would be something to look for. If you start seeing the price rise and then all of a sudden come, end of year and everybody's talking about how awesome XRP is, that might be the time to sell it. You might be considered an idiot, but a good way to gauge when you should sell is how big of an idiot would your friends or family think you are if you were selling at the time that everybody came out and said, oh, the case is settled. This is what we've been waiting for. So use your brain when that does happen, because we saw the same thing happen, this past year when Tesla and Sailor were coming out. That was the best time to sell, because everybody thought, hey, this is the time. This is what we've been waiting for. Same thing with the Coinbase IPO. This is what we've been waiting for. Same thing with Elon Musk going on SNL. Oh, doggy, it's going to pump. This is what we've been waiting for. When I started hearing my friends and family telling me I should buy dog shit coin the week that Elon Musk was going on SNL, I knew that was the time to sell. And we actually mentioned that in our newsletter that week. So if you guys haven't already subscribed to our newsletter, link in the description below. We have a free version and a paid version. And then we also have a link to a Discord that you guys can join if you want to come join us in the chat. That's absolutely free for you guys. We've got a good community in there. You guys can come hang out with us. So also, next up, we got the IMF says adoption of crypto could undermine political power, urges global standards. So the IMF is coming out and giving their 2 cents on exactly what is happening in the digital asset space. And they went on here and said that policymakers should develop comprehensive global standards for crypto assets along the activity and risk spectrum. A more robust oversight of fintech firms and decentralized finance platforms is needed to take advantage of their benefits while mitigating their risks. It says the IMF argues that developing international and nuanced standards for the crypto markets is key to maintaining capital flow management effectiveness. And so, yeah, of course, the IMF, they essentially want to control and have more regulation. It says, in addition, more widespread use of crypto assets in emerging markets could undermine domestic policy objectives. Multilateral cooperation will remain key to overcome these medium-term challenges. So basically, and from my understanding, they're cool with crypto as long as they're controlling it, right? That would be how I would think that they would want to run it, because why do they want everybody running around using privacy coins and hiding all their transactions when they can just have their own central bank digital currency that everybody has to use, or they encourage people to use, that can be tracked and traced? Every single transaction can be taxed. You can't really do that with fiat now, can you? It says digital forms of money, and this is from the IMF website, digital forms of money could be a boon for emerging markets and lower income economies if the transition is well managed and regulated. So there's my point right there. I also believe I highlighted something else down here. It says that other risks must also be contained. New digital forms of money must stand up to cyber attacks, outages, technical glitches, fraud risks, and faulty algorithms. This goes back to me talking about the cyber pandemic. They've kind of been setting the stage here for some sort of crazy cyber attack, as they did with the Colonial Pipeline. Well, what happens if they go and attack the power grid next? What if the power goes out for a few days, causes massive panic, banking system goes out, you can't pull any money out of the ATM, all out panic ensues, and then they come back online and say, okay, well, to prevent that, you now need a digital ID to sign on to the internet, which will be tied to the blockchain, as well as your medical records and basically everything else that contains your personal data, all in one space, in the name of cyber security. We all saw what happened after 9/11. We're still taking off our shoes 20 years later. You guys can see how this all plays out. It says, without proper regulation, digital money could be a virtual safe haven for criminals and illicit financial transactions. Effective implementation of a robust framework to combat money laundering and the financing of terrorism is needed. However, digital money also brings regulatory opportunities, such as more effective real-time data analytics and monitoring. So as we can start seeing this all unfolding, they're starting to use XLM to build central bank digital currencies. If they do go ahead and decide to issue their own, and I'm talking about the US, if they decide to issue their own to compete with China and the digital yuan, who knows where this is going to go. It's pretty interesting to think about. This is literally the new financial system being built right in front of your eyes, but there has to be a massive shift that takes place due to some sort of event. And I don't think that event has happened yet, but I do think that what we've seen over the last 2 years, and you guys know what I'm talking about, has played a major role in transitioning us. The whole look here, don't look here, what's really going on in the background. Well, you're reading it right here. So also want to point out the gentleman that wrote this. His name is Tobias Adrian. Okay, he wrote all that for the IMF. This is a German and American economist who's been the financial counselor for the International Monetary Fund and head of their monetary and capital markets department since 2017. He was also previously employed at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where he was a senior vice president and the associate director of the Research and Statistic Group. His research covers aspects of risk to the wider economy of developments in capital markets. In particular, he's known for his work on the global financial crisis, monetary policy transmission, and the yield curve. And he also went on and he talked about the importance of the shadow banking system in capital markets and its prominent role in the development of the financial crisis of 2007, 2008. So we go into the shadow banking. And it says that shadow banking has grown in importance to rival traditional depository banking and was a factor in the subprime mortgage crisis and the global recession that followed. So he thinks shadow banking is important, even though the subprime mortgage crisis came out of it and we had a huge global recession. So these are the guys that are pulling the strings here. What do you think they want? They think that they want you to just be free and transact and not be taxed and kind of just hide your money and don't give any to Uncle Sam? Of course not. They want to track, trace, and control everything. And the IMF, the World Bank are all part of it, which is why you guys need to set yourselves up, because this stuff is happening whether you invest in it or not. So why wouldn't you take advantage of what's being laid out in front of you and invest in the assets that are going to be part of the new financial system? We've talked about this before. It's all the ISO assets. So do your research. Also wanted to point out, that this is funny, I'm going to wrap this up here. Look up XRP news real quick because I do this stuff every morning. And then it says, people also ask, is there a chance that XRP will go up? Is there any hope for XRP? What is happening with the XRP prices? Will Ripple win the lawsuit? Just basically massive anxiety amongst all these questions. Absolutely hilarious. You guys just need to be patient for XRP. Everything will play out how it's supposed to, but they are going to do their best to make you lose patience, lose hope, watch the price decrease after you buy it. I can tell you right now, anything sub $1 is an absolute steal. So don't lose your mind about it. Just invest what you can. If you can't invest anymore and you have no more dry powder, just hold on to it and let it mature. All of these things will come in due time. Everybody wants it to happen overnight. That's not going to happen. They're going to make sure that they push your limits and you give up because they can capture more market share. So keep that in mind. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys haven't, please like, subscribe, share the video, get this stuff out there, and we will catch you all in the next video.